In number 10, it says David sells remote control helicopters. Each helicopter costs $14.26 to make. David wants to make a profit of $10.50 per helicopter. David has just signed a 12-month contract with a local mall to rent space for his store at a rate of $500 per month. As part of the contract, David has to pay a one-time fee of $700. Which of the following statements is not true? Well, let's look at A. It says if E of H represents the total amount of expenses for David's business, so we're building a function here, then E of H would equal 14.26H plus 6,700, where H is the number of helicopters manufactured. Well, let's look at this. We're looking at expenses. So they are suggesting that H represents helicopters manufactured, so per helicopter. Let's see where they're getting this 1426 from. Well, if you look up here, it says each helicopter costs $14.26 to make. So yeah, that would be an expense. Every single helicopter would be this, so this amount per helicopter. That's okay. Then let's figure out where they got this from. This would be plus 6,700, where that number here, we're going to try to figure out where is that number coming from. Well, I do see a one-time fee of $700. Plus, we've got this $500 per month. Well, he signed the contract for 12 months. So essentially, he's going to be paying for this thing. And when you look at this, 12 times that $500 per month, that's going to give you $6,000. So for the entire rental process for that whole 12-month period. So that 1 year, this is how much he pays for in rent. How did I get that again? I basically said if this is per month, and there are 12 months in all, 12 times 500 gave me $6,000 total that he'd have to pay for renting that under his 12-month contract. So this $6,000 plus that $700 does make a total here of $6,700. So that does represent a good amount to show his expenses for the business. To meet his profit goal for each helicopter sold, David needs to sell each helicopter for $24.76 before taxes. Well, let's look. He's trying to get a profit, and so let's see how much it costs. It's going to cost this $14.26, so that's going to essentially be like how much it's going to cost him, be like almost like a negative, but we're not going to make it a negative because then he wants to make a profit of $10.50 per helicopter. So if we take that expense and we add $10.50, that's what he should be selling his helicopter for. So you want to do $14.26 plus $10.50. And that's going to give you here a total of $24.76. That does match because if this is how much it cost him and he wants to make a profit, he's got to add $10 to that so that's what he needs to sell each helicopter for. That upholds. It says David uses P of H minus E of H equals R of H to find the revenue he can potentially earn for his business. Revenue is like money that he brings in. In the formula, the function P of H represents profit, so this is going to be my profit. E of H represents expenditures, so he's going to take his profit and subtract his expenses, and that's going to give him his total. And so what we're looking at here is H represents the number of helicopters sold. An appropriate domain for this formula would be whole numbers. So number of helicopters sold could be, whole numbers would include 0. Could 0 helicopters be sold? Sure. Could 1 helicopter be sold? Sure. Could 2 helicopters be sold? Sure. Could we have negative helicopters be sold? No. So whole numbers would make sense. But let's also check, like, could he sell 1.5 helicopters? That's not a whole number. 1.5 helicopters? No, that doesn't make sense. He wouldn't sell 1.5 helicopters. He'd sell them in whole numbers. That is true, which means that D is probably my answer choice for this question. But let's read it. We find the same set of information, but the question is saying, instead of saying an appropriate domain, is they're saying an appropriate range. They say an appropriate range for this formula would be the revenue would be greater than or equal to $0. So here's the thing. I know revenue is going to be in dollars, which is why I know that that's going to be that unit. Is it possible that no matter what, his revenue would be $0 or he could make more than that? That is true. But does that include all possibilities? In other words, does that include all possibilities, including negative numbers? Is it possible that he would have negative revenue, which means he didn't sell enough helicopters to break even in his business? Well, this right here would not show that. Suppose he just didn't sell enough helicopters, and so he wound up paying more for the storefront than he did actually earning anything. That happens in businesses. So this cannot be true here, because the revenue could also include some negative amounts as well. Essentially anything that would have cost him money to create this business, and if he didn't make ends meet, then he could also have a range that includes negative numbers. So our answer choice for this problem should be D.